The world, and our neck of it, have at least two big challenges in the here and now. One is climate change, a slow moving, long term issue that is sometimes hard to see until a major storm or climate event upends things for a few days or weeks. Another is housing, or rather the shortage of it, and which is within the price range of typical people. What if the solutions, at least in part, lay in tackling both of them at the same time? That's what Marcus Jones, a self-described systems thinker, is tackling with a group of house projects. One of them in Shaftesbury. Regenerative housing is one way to describe it. It involves reclaiming cast-off materials that still have some use and value left in them, and incorporating them into homes that harmonize with the environment to make a minimal impact and footprint. The built environment accounts for about 40% of global carbon emissions, so finding some climate-friendly approaches to home construction and housing would be helpful as ways to reduce carbon emissions intensify to meet state climate goals. And if that can translate into lowering construction costs, so more housing units can be built, that's a win-win. We met up with Marcus Jones at a site in Shaftesbury where he's hoping to build a small home that would accomplish both goals.
Once you see the system that we're living in and relying upon, we're the only true consistent input into our system of the planet is the sun. So ultimately that's what nature has learned to operate on is the sun from the year on an annual basis. And we're right now taking sun's energy that came to the planet and made fossil fuels hundreds of millions of years ago, and we're massively extracting that. And we basically have a limited amount of resources. We don't know how much we have of that stored fossil fuel, photosynthesis to rebuild out generation after generation of technological things that have a one generation lifespan. The buildings we're talking about building have, 6, 8 or more generations to provide value. So it comes out of this passion of once you understand how, I don't see another option other than building homes and housing in our built environment in a way that sustains life. Because if we don't figure it out now and do it now, we're going to be figuring it out how to do it later without the stored energy of, right? Like I'm driving a gas truck. I need to be able to have impact. But, that utilizing any of those materials towards it, it's not fossil fuel free, but it is working towards a place where that truck will no longer be needed if this house sustains our lives.
Known as the Shaftesbury Solar Project, the idea is to demonstrate the benefits of aligning the built environment with the cycles of nature using appropriate technology to efficiently harvest the sun's energy.
Well, the concept design is a hemicycle shape. It's a Frank Lloyd Wright design, which is where you have a concave curve that is centered around the sun. And what it is when the sun comes up in the morning, it comes into these far windows, washes onto the rammed earth wall, so the heat gets absorbed into the wall. And then as the sun pivots through the day, the sunlight washes throughout and evenly covers all of the interior rammed earth walls that absorb that heat. And so it's that circular shape. This behind us is the test excavation that we did last year, which is a representation of the various levels of the building. So we could see where we are in relation to the land. We can see how the water flows through the year before we even design or plan the whole building out. And so the level we're on right now is the base level of an undisturbed soil level. We aren't going to go any lower than that. The next kind of 3-foot step up is a representation of how high the crushed stone would be that sits underneath the building. So thinking the building needs to have a very impressive, well-drained foundation. And one of the best ways to do that is to create a whole bed of drainage underneath it. And then that next slice that you can kind of see is the roughly the first floor level. So you can see when you're on the first floor, behind you, you're surrounded by earth. You're burned into the earth. And There's another slice that we left as natural just so we could see what it is, but there's like 4 kind of pie slices that you can see. They're wider at the back side, and then they're narrower at the front side. The other thing that's been identified is that we don't have a workforce to do this, right? Like, we can't go out and just find people that that have this ability and skills. So we really have to start training the next generation, and we're starting that this summer with an internship. Jorn here is our first intern.
We also got to chat with Jorn Connors, an architectural intern who's working with Jones.
So I'm currently in college right now studying architecture, so some of the things I've been working on are some of the design aspects, wherever I can step in. Also basically just, helping him with busy work, you could say. But yeah, taking on projects like these, it takes a lot of hands and a lot of work. So the design build classes always fill up. So doing a lot of hands-on the field kind of projects like these, I think would interest a lot of people, especially regenerative building. It's a big part of architecture these days, so it's good to see that coming up here.
We probably won't be seeing multi-unit affordable housing complexes built this way for a long time yet, but at some point, this approach may seem like a solution to 2 problems and scale upwards. For the GNAT-TV News Project, I'm Andrew McKeever.